I'd like to talk to you today about auctions. We've done a few recently, and what has occurred to me as a result of that is that although people do believe they know about auctions, actually in reality, they don't know the mechanics of what happens in an auction. And what you tend to find is that initially everybody's very reluctant about using an auction to sell a property. I thought I would give you an introduction to what an auction is, how it works, the advantages, and also what kind of properties it works best with. There are two terms which are critical in an auction. One is the guide price, and the other is the reserve price. Now, the purpose of marketing at an auction and the purpose of the guide price is to attract as much attention and as many prospective buyers as possible. And paradoxically, that's the reason that you find that people are more fearful of auctions, because many people will have looked at the web portals for auction sites and have seen guide prices that look very low for the property actually being photographed next to it. But that's the purpose of it, because a guide price is very different to a marketed price that you get on the open market for a property. A guide price is not there to show you how much you believe the property is worth. It is there to act as a hook, to hook people into having an interest in that property, because invariably guide prices are significantly exceeded when the auction starts if you've got enough prospective buyers. The critical term is reserve price. This is a price that the vendor, the seller, and the auctioneer know, but the prospective buyers don't. And that's a price you set whereby, as a seller, you would say, I am not prepared to sell my property for less than this. Now, the guide price might be 90,000, but you might say, well, I'm not going to sell for less than £120,000. So the reserve price, which is agreed between yourself and the auctioneer, is the critical price point. What can happen sometimes is a property is short of the reserve price, in which case it's not sold, but it might be very close. So after the auction is finished, the auctioneer would seek the seller's permission to approach the last bidder in order to see whether there was some kind of compromise that could be achieved, that you could meet somewhere in the middle to see if both parties would be agreeable to that to secure a sale. But if the answer is no, the answer is no. These are the three main advantages of an auction. Number one, the cost. If you're advertising a property on the open market, then there is a distinct cost to selling that property. And there are some companies who charge you a price even before selling. With auctions, overwhelmingly most auctions, the price of selling at an auction is borne by the purchaser. They pay a buyer's premium to the auction house. So the cost, and there will be a cost because you as a seller would have to pay for a legal pack, which is usually in the realms of around £500. But apart from that, the cost is borne by the purchaser. The second big advantage is the security of the sale. Currently, the work of conveyancers, solicitors, to carry out their work on a property takes anywhere between 12 and 16 weeks as an average, certainly in Wrexham. And also, until you sign the first contract, i.e. the exchange, which normally takes 8 to 10 weeks in a normal open market sale, either party can pull out of that sale. 30% of all sales which are sales subject to contract that are agreed do not make it to full sale. An advantage of an auction is Once you know that a sale has been agreed and the gavel's gone down, that gives you security of the sale itself. Then the timeline of selling a property is potentially far shorter within an auction. Lastly, what kind of properties do auctions work well for? Two of the best examples would be one, a property whereby someone is trying to sell within a certain timeline. It may be that you want to take advantage of these buoyant prices currently and go to an auction because that sale will happen quicker than it will on the open market, followed by the conveyancing work that needs to take place. Secondly, if you have a property that is a bit quirky, it might have several different parts to it, whereby it's not just necessarily one building, but there are outbuildings and there is land with it. Auctions work really well with those kind of properties. It is a vehicle by which you can still get top quality prices by attracting the people who would be most interested on a national basis in the property that you're trying to sell. So bear it in mind. I think too many times we tend to think of it as being just a vehicle for a fire sale. It is much more than that, and you can get it to work in your to your advantage.